You might have heard my trademark slogan, good hair doesn't come from a jar. Since I've been throwing that around for years now, I've kind of deliberately tried to not define good hair, just because I feel like it's such a subjective thing and everyone's opinions and views are going to be different. And so when I'm asked about it, well, what is good hair? I usually just sidestep the question because it's really complex. But I thought maybe it would be fun to do a bit of a philosophical video here. Sounds so pretentious saying that, but to just talk about the idea of good hair. So really, I'm just kind of thinking out loud about the concept of good hair, like what it means and how we can achieve it. Because here's the thing, and the reason I want to talk about this. If you can't define something, how can you achieve it? And so we all want good hair. That's why we're on YouTube looking at hair right now. But I want to really help to try to dial in exactly what your expectations should be as far as good hair. And as I said, if you can't define it, how can you achieve it? See, I've had clients who have amazing hair. When they come in and sit down, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to be a piece of cake. But after talking to them, I realize that they're not confident in their hair. They just feel like they have bad hair. Maybe they have like a weird cowlick here or some kind of texture issue that they're not happy with. And then I've had other clients where they have 17 hairs on top of their head and really strong cowlicks around the nape, and they're just like feeling themselves. Like they're like, oh, I got the best hair. And so it's like kind of interesting, the whole idea of good hair. It can split up a room, especially when you look at hair online. You look at Instagram posts, and something that can get 5,000 likes can also get 500 comments saying that it's horrible. So in this video, I want to dive into the idea of good hair and hopefully help you to define it for yourself and recognize how you're judging hair in the moment that you find yourself feeling like, hey, that's cool, or hey, that sucks. So the first aspect I want to talk about here is who is defining the good hair. See, it's not a universal standard. There's so many different measures by which good hair is judged. Coming from the perspective of a client, the only opinion that should matter is whether you think you have good hair. And as I mentioned a minute ago, I've known people who have great hair and don't believe they have good hair. And I've known people who have really troublesome hair who love their hair. And so this opinion of your own hair, whether it's good or bad, is completely up to you. And it can be completely unaffected by anybody else's opinions, but it can also be 100% affected by everyone else's opinions, or obviously anything in between. So another measure by which we might judge good hair is the perspective of the barber or stylist. So I've had clients where they want me to do some questionable stuff with their hair that I don't know if I like it. I don't know if I think it's good, but they want it. And so I give it to them and they love it. And I'm like, oh man, like questioning whether or not I like the haircut even. And so it's very possible to love your hair and have your barber or stylist maybe not feel it. That's a really rare case, but it's happened. And on the flip side, you could have a barber or stylist who freaking thinks you have amazing hair and you don't love your hair. But truth be told, my job as a hairstylist is to take anybody that comes in not believing that they have good hair and make sure they leave believing they have good hair. So it's very possible, especially at the beginning of an interaction, like on the first time visit with a client, they could walk in and just go, oh, my hair sucks. And then like by the end, I want to show them that their hair doesn't suck. But those are two very different perspectives. You know, what you believe about your own hair and then what your barber or stylist believes about your hair, that's two different measures of good or bad. And they are mostly unrelated, but ideally, if you like your hair and your barber likes your hair, that's a win. But branching out further, who else is going to be able to judge hair? You know, you have friends, acquaintances, family members, coworkers. If these people around you in your life are like, oh yeah, you've got great hair, that's a measure. And their perspective is completely different from your own and completely different from your barber or your stylist. And then just beyond them would be strangers. It's the best feeling in the world. It's never happened to me, but it happens to a lot of my clients when a complete stranger stops you to compliment your hair. And that is, again, a measure unrelated to how you feel about your hair, unrelated to how your barber feels about your hair, unrelated to how your mom feels about your hair. When you have a stranger stop you and go, hey, you have good hair, that's a perspective that is completely independent of all these others. And then going even further, you've got strangers online, people who don't even see you in person. We go look online for like hair inspiration, and we're just being a stranger online looking at some hair and judging it. And we're not the person wearing the haircut, and we're not the person who did the haircut, and we don't know the person with the haircut, but we're judging it from this way outside perspective. And again, that's a completely independent, different perspective scale to be judging the hair on that could or could not, and I would say should not, have any bearing on whether you, the client, like your hair. I do believe there are probably people out there who, if they post a picture of their haircut and they don't get enough likes on it, they go, oh, I guess I just have bad hair. But it doesn't have to be that way. Like if some stranger on the internet wants to judge your hair, whether it's good or bad, you have to understand their perspective and their scale and everything that they're judging that hair by is completely different from your own. And then hairstylist barbers watching this, if you're working on a photo shoot and you're doing hair for a director, like there's always a director on these shoots or video shoots or whatever, it's up to them. Like you have to make them happy with the hair. And the director, you know, their job is to make everything look cohesive and tell the right story for the shoot. And in a case where you're doing hair for a director for a photo shoot, it doesn't matter if the model likes the hair. It doesn't matter if you like the hair. It matters if the director likes the hair. And what their job essentially is to try to curate something that's going to make strangers on a screen like it. And so there's so many different people or perspectives to be judging this good hair versus bad hair. And I think a lot of times, rather than just judging for yourself what you feel about your hair or letting yourself feel good about your hair, you go, well, it didn't get enough likes and I've never had a stranger stop me and compliment my hair, so I must not have good hair. It's like, you could be thrilled with your hair without any of that happening. And as I continue to talk through this, hopefully I can help you to figure out how to be thrilled with your hair, what to look for to realize that it is in fact good hair. So after laying all this out, I hope you realize that it's completely possible to love your own hair by your own standards, even with nobody else agreeing that you have good hair. And I hope you also realize that it's possible for everyone to love your hair and then maybe you don't feel it. In fact, my most liked picture ever on Instagram was a fade that I did. And this client model guy who got this fade from me never again asked for a fade. Now, on the internet, the court of public opinion, that haircut did amazing. People loved it. But the guy that actually wore the haircut, he just said, oh, I wasn't feeling it. I didn't feel like myself when I had a fade. And since then, he's been getting fuller sides every time. He's never again asked for a fade. So it's very, very possible that strangers online could like something and you necessarily don't like it. And you can like it and strangers online don't like it. And so the idea of good hair, it's like, well, who are we trying to impress? And does it matter if we impress them? You got to get that through your head. Look at whether you're judging someone's hair or someone's judging your hair. What perspective are they coming from? And does that perspective matter to you? Does it affect the way you feel about your own hair? It doesn't have to. So the other aspect I want to talk about is what we define good hair in relation to. We can judge good hair by a standard of all things hair. Everything we've seen hair do, digging around the internet looking for the best of the best hair, and then we can take hair that we're looking at and go, this is above average by all standards. There's that perception of good. This would be the equivalent of like, I want to make a good burger. And so you go get the best ingredients. You get like Wagyu beef and some kind of truffle something and an aged cheese. And you're making like the best of what a burger can be. But on the flip side, in a more practical sense, you can judge your good hair versus your own hair. This is like, rather than looking at all things that all hair can do and feeling bad that you don't have some of the best hair in the world, you can look at what your hair did when you walked into the salon versus what your hair is doing when you walk out of the salon and feel really good about your hair. I've been accused over the years many times of people saying, oh, you only post people who have good hair naturally. And see, I don't post a lot of before pictures, but if I did, you would see that so many of these guys come in with not great hair. And then through working with the hair, using a hair dryer and whatever else, I'm able to make it appear that they have good hair. And so this would be like, you have some grade F meat and somehow you're able to take it and season it and manage it in a way that you sell 1 billion hamburgers. Now, is it the best hamburger in the world? No. But is it probably the best grade F meat in the world? Absolutely. And you sold 1 billion of them. So the real difference here is looking at something and going, wow, I didn't know hair could do that, versus, wow, I didn't know my hair could do that. And this one over here, I didn't know my hair could do that. That should be the goal of every barber, every stylist who's working on a client, is to get them to leave and go, wow, I never knew my hair could do that. This is like the ultimate deepest level of what is good hair, is when you leave feeling like, wow, I didn't know my hair could look that good. And when you make a client feel that way, it doesn't matter what people online say, it doesn't matter what strangers say. As long as the client feels that, you are winning. So, you know, needless to say, if you're trying to aim for that best of the best of the best, you got to start with good ingredients. You know, if you have the right ingredients, you could just like Salt Bae some seasoning on the meat and it's good. But if you have more realistic, semi-decent ingredients, because most people have weird cowlicks, most people have problems with their hair. If you're working with this more realistic hair, you can't just sprinkle salt on it and call it good. That's how people sell product is they go, hey, look what the product did. And it's like, dude, you're starting with some grade A meat there. What about the normal people who have cowlicks and who have weird growth patterns and who have uneven density? And so when you look at hair and you feel the need to judge it on a screen, you might consider, okay, well, that's not the best hair compared to what all the best hair can be. But you don't know what the hair looked like before, unless they do a before and after. And actually, that's why people post like transformation videos and before and after videos, is they're trying to get you, rather than judging their work based on the whole world of what hair can be, they're saying, look how bad it was before and look how far we came now. Look what I did with this grade F meat. And by those standards, the hair is amazing, but when you hold it to the standards of the entire world of what hair can be, it's just a haircut. So wrapping up, let me connect some dots here. If you're a client or a consumer and your goal is good hair, realize that your ingredients might not be Wagyu. No offense, but most of us don't have perfect hair. And so a lot of times by diving into the internet and looking for the best of the best by the whole world standard of hair can leave you let down when you go, well, my hairline doesn't look like that, my hair texture doesn't look like that. So if you're judging your own hair based on that scale, almost everybody's going to feel let down. Almost everybody will have bad hair by that standard. But if you judge your hair based on what it looked like before you learned to style it, you can feel really good about how good your hair is starting to look. If you're a professional, if you're a barber or hairstylist, your number one goal is to make the person in the chair feel what I just described. They need to feel like they have the best hair they've ever had. Even if they have grade F meat, you sell 1 billion hamburgers off of that. If they come in and they happen to have Wagyu and they don't believe they have Wagyu because it's all in our head, right? Oh, I got a cowlick here, so I have bad hair. And it's like, no, you have great hair. You just have one tiny cowlick. But whatever they think, whatever they come in thinking, they need to leave believing they have the best hair that they've ever had. And once they believe that, it matters a little less to them that it's not literally David Beckham's hair. It matters a little less to them that it's not the best hair they've seen ever on a screen, because to them, it is their best hair and it makes them feel good. Furthermore, if you're having that connection with your clients to where you love their hair and they love their hair and everybody is in agreement that this is good hair happening, but you're not getting people online thinking the same thing, you got to realize when somebody looks online at a hairstyle, they're usually not looking at the before, unless you do a before and after. They're looking at the hair versus the entire world of hair and versus every hairstyle they've ever seen. And so it's a much harder scale to be judged on. And that's why so much of what I post on Instagram isn't something that a normal client would just come in and ask for, because it's not aimed to make that person in the chair solely feel good about it. It's aimed to try to stand out on a bigger picture. And so if you're trying to gather content, you got to understand good hair to the client isn't always good hair to people on the screen. And just like good hair on the screen isn't always good hair to the client. Sometimes we see these crazy outlandish designs and over-the-top styles where people go, no client would like that. But this is okay. This is okay that good hair to this source is bad hair to this source. If a client's own tastes are completely independent of the rest of the world, that's a beautiful thing. Now you've got a free thinker on your hands. They're usually the trendsetters when they're able to think that way and they don't care what other people think. And so ultimately, good hair, it's all an opinion, and various people in various places can have different opinions on the same hair based on different standards. And so anytime you catch yourself either hating on a haircut or really loving a haircut or hating your own haircut or loving your own haircut, stop and think, which role am I playing right now and by which standard am I judging this? Because, I mean, honestly, the way that I just kind of laid this all out, any hair can be good hair. I mean, you could do like a one all over and it can be good hair if you feel good about it. Thanks for watching. I hope this has been, I don't know, insightful maybe. I don't know what the goal here is, but I hope now you can sit down and go, this is what I want from my hair, and hopefully achieve your own good hair. Because good hair doesn't come from a jar.